In 2022, Canada committed over $38 billion over 20 years to modernize NORAD, the Joint Canada-US Command responsible for aerospace warning and control over North America. It's the largest investment in continental defense in over a generation, and in this video we'll cover what that program funds, what it leaves out, and where it stands as of mid-2026. The reason for the investment starts with a system built 40 years ago. Across northern Canada and Alaska, a chain of unmanned radar stations called the North Warning System monitors the airspace over North America over its Arctic approaches. It became operational in the 1980s, and it was designed for a specific task: detecting bombers flying high-altitude routes over the North Pole. But they now carry cruise missiles that can be launched from outside the system's detection range, and they fly below its radar coverage. Over the past couple of years, we've also seen hypersonic weapons emerge. These fly at high speed and maneuver in ways not detectable by systems from the 1980s. The gap between what the system was built for and what it faces now is the problem that $38 billion is trying to solve. Now, there's two developments that are driving the modernization decision. The first one is that the Arctic is opening up. Temperatures in the region are rising roughly 4 times faster than the global average. Declining sea ice is extending the shipping season along the northern routes and improving access to the region's resources. So that's oil, it's gas, critical minerals, fisheries. And as access improves, commercial traffic, infrastructure investment, and military activity are all increasing. A region that was once secured largely by its own remoteness now requires active monitoring. And the second thing is that the weapons have changed. Modern cruise missiles can now be launched from well outside the North Warning System's detection range, and they can fly well below its coverage. Hypersonic glide vehicles that can maneuver their flight path can go past legacy radar, which was not designed to track those type of missiles. And you're seeing this a lot in some of the recent conflicts. So for example, in Ukraine and the Middle East, long-range drones and precision missiles have repeatedly struck targets hundreds and in some cases thousands of miles away at a fraction of the cost of the systems defending against them. Range and precision that were once limited to a few major militaries are now spreading. Now, taken together, these two shifts reduce the protection North America has historically drawn from distance, which is the assumption that the existing warning systems are built upon. Now, like most things related to Canadian procurement, this has been a long time coming. The modernization program sits inside a decade of policy decisions, each building upon the previous one. So we start with Strong, Secure, Engaged, which is Canada's 2017 defense policy. And inside that policy, it committed in principle to modernizing NORAD and the North Warning System. It launched a bunch of precursor projects such as space-based surveillance, polar satellite communication, strategic tankers, which we'll talk a little about later on. But there was nothing that was really dedicated to NORAD funding. Now, we'll talk about this a little bit later on in the video. There are some projects that are outside the NORAD funding scope, but they are critical pieces in that NORAD cog. And so even if it's not within that $38 billion that we mentioned earlier on, these are still pieces that kind of contribute to the overall NORAD and Arctic security picture. Now, we fast forward to 2021. The defense minister and the U.S. Secretary of Defense at the time issued a joint statement on NORAD modernization, and this really kicked off the whole project. It defines some shared requirements, so things such as situational awareness up in the north, modernized command and control, new capabilities to deter and defeat threats, and then also an R&D component as well. And so going forward, a lot of the things that are linked to the NORAD modernization plan link back to these 4 areas. Now, in June 2022, the $38 billion was defined. So this was funding that was put over 20 years, organized into 5 investment areas, covering almost 20 different projects. And in April 2024, we got a new defense policy called Our North Strong and Free, which really formalized the program. In this defense policy, there's an entire section called Canada's NORAD Modernization Plan, and it added things from the 2022 announcement that had not been included before. So this would include projects such as airborne early warning aircraft, new maritime sensors, and a commitment to explore integrated air and missile defense. Now, since then, some other things have come up. One is that in June 2025, Canada signed NATO's pledge to increase to 5% of GDP for military spending. And with Canada's renewed focus on Arctic sovereignty, you can imagine that a lot of this funding will eventually go into the Arctic. And in March 2026, the Government of Canada began working on the Northern Basing Package, which is the package of money that's outside the NORAD modernization plan, built to upgrade and modernize northern bases. So in summary, this announcement really started back in 2017, but wasn't funded until 2022. So there's a 5-year gap where really nothing was moving on this file. And so even though the policy scaffolding and the ideas were in place, the funding wasn't there. And so that delayed the implementation. Now the funding is in place and things have accelerated, but that did cause a lag to starting up the program. So let's talk about the money. The $38.6 billion figure is measured over 20 years. But in cash terms, it works out to roughly $4.9 to $5 billion over the first 6 years. Now, like we mentioned, there's a lot of projects that are not captured within that NORAD modernization plan. For example, the Northern Infrastructure Package that was announced would bring it closer to $87 billion. But for the funding that has been allocated, the program has 5 main investment areas. First is surveillance, close to $7 billion for radars and sensors. Command, control, and communications, just over $4 billion. And these would be the systems that cover detection and turning detections into decisions. Air weapons, roughly $6.4 billion. And this would include modern missiles for the fighter force. Science, technology, and research and development for the Arctic are around $4.2 billion. And the largest single area of funding is $15.68 billion for infrastructure and support. So this would include runways, hangars, fuel systems, and other facilities that are dated and need to be upgraded. And that really puts it into perspective. Most people would assume that the largest cost is weapons and sensor systems, but the practical reality is it's about sustainment and buildings and infrastructure and all the stuff that isn't flashy that's required. So let's talk about radars and sensors. The largest surveillance project is the Arctic Over-the-Horizon Radar. Now, conventional radar can't see past the curvature of the Earth. Over-the-horizon radar works around this by bouncing high-frequency signals off the ionosphere. And this extends detection range by thousands of kilometers, which directly addresses the low-flying cruise missile problem. Now, rather than attempting to develop the technology domestically, Canada has purchased this capability. In March of 2025, the Prime Minister of Canada announced a $6 billion program based on Australia's Jindalee Operational Radar Network. And on June 22, 2026, the agreements were signed in Canberra, which included a $2.5 billion production contract with BAE Systems of Australia. This is the first export of this radar technology in its history, and it's Australia's largest defense export to date. Now, both the transmitter and receiver for this network will be located in Ontario, and construction is expected to begin later on in 2026. Initial capability is scheduled for sometime in 2029, with full coverage from the Canada-US border to the Arctic Circle expected in the early 2030s. Now, there are some other parts of the radar and sensors network that still need to be built out. The biggest one of these would be the Polar Over-the-Horizon Network. And this would cover most of the northmost approaches, which would be, for example, the Arctic archipelago. But the definition phase for this project isn't expected to begin until 2029. Now, unlike the Arctic Over-the-Horizon Network, the Polar Over-the-Horizon Network does not have a location that's confirmed yet. There are still a lot of open questions around this program. Next is command and control. Now, there are a lot of projects that fall under command and control, but what the Government of Canada is calling this is technology-enabled decision-making. Basically, what this means is that now that we have the sensors, satellites, and other equipment to bring in different pieces of data, we need a one-stop location that processes, allows people to make decisions, gives a broader picture, and provides an accurate idea of the battle space. And so some of the things that make up this project include high frequency and low frequency communication upgrades, command and control information systems updates, a new aerospace operations center, and even updates for ground-air ground communications, for example at NAV Canada control centers. Now, most of these systems should enter initial operational capability by the early 2030s, with some such as the enhanced satellite communications extending into the mid-2030s. So once you've got all that data and warning capability flowing in from those sensors, you need an ability to act on it. Now, although there is an active review ongoing for Canada's next generation fighter aircraft, we know that the F-35 will be there. And the set of aircraft that Canada has already purchased will be making their way to Canadian air bases in the next couple of years. While that transition is taking place, Canada has been upgrading its CF-18s, and so they're now capable of fielding some of the most advanced AMRAAMs that are available, and this helps extend the legacy fleet's capability while the transition continues. Now, as we talked about earlier in the video, that $38 billion for NORAD modernization doesn't capture every system, and the next generation fighter, so the F-35, is not a part of that. It's funded from a separate project, but in the context of NORAD modernization, fighter jets play a critical role, and the CF-18 and the F-35 fill in the act-on-it ability of NORAD. Now, another part of this is the ability to keep those aircraft in the sky. So Canada has purchased a next generation air tanker called the CC-330 Husky. Now this tanker will feature a refueling boom versus the probe and drogue that the Polaris aircraft that preceded this used. Next up is northern bases and infrastructure. Canada's fighter fleet is based in Cold Lake, Alberta and Bagotville, Quebec. Both of these are far away from the Arctic. Now, northern reach depends on NORAD's 4 forward operating locations. These are in Inuvik, Yellowknife, Iqaluit, and Goose Bay. All these facilities have dated infrastructure, limited fuel storage, limited hangar space, and really no capacity to sustain year-round operations. But in early 2026, the government announced that it would be changing that. They plan to pour massive amounts of money to make these forward operating locations into permanent year-round bases. So that includes upgraded airfields, hangars, fuel and munition storage, accommodations, and all the other things we talked about, including digital infrastructure and upgraded communications. Now, alongside this, they announced money to have operational support hubs at Whitehorse and Resolute, plus upgrades to almost all the Arctic airports. Now, the formal project schedule runs a little longer than the announcement suggests. Definition in 2027, initial capability in 2034, and full capability by 2039. So that means on its current schedule, the bases would reach initial capability roughly 5 years after the radar was installed. Now, the interesting thing about some of these projects is that they're considered dual use. So that means these things are being built with the intention that local industry, local communities can also benefit from these projects. A perfect example of this would be, for example, an upgraded runway. The benefits for the military are obvious, but upgrading a runway in a remote or Arctic community also means that that community is now opened up for more business, more opportunity from the rest of Canada and the world. Now, in the beginning of the video, we talked about hypersonic and ballistic missiles and how they're really changing the face of warfare in Ukraine and in Iran. And that's where we find one of the first fundamental gaps in this program. Canada is still not pursuing a ballistic missile defense system. NORAD can track an incoming ballistic missile, but Canada owns no system that can intercept one. Integrated air and missile defense exists in the program only as a research line. Now, the policy has shifted somewhat. In 2025, the Defense Minister removed Canada's long-standing restrictions on missile defense activity, and we have heard reports that Canada is interested in joining the Golden Dome project. But beyond that, there hasn't been much more interest, and no decision has been announced on the future of ballistic missile defense in Canada. Now, there are a lot of pieces that kind of fit into this picture. One of the ones that sticks out to me is the River-class destroyer. It will have an Aegis combat system with an advanced radar that's capable, with the right missile set, to potentially intercept ballistic missiles. Now again, the capability will likely exist, but around the edges in terms of final implementation, policy, we're still unsure. Another thing is ground-based air defense. For the interception of smaller targets such as drones, there are plans, but there are no procured systems for these threats. And the third thing is the interim period. The North Warning System remains operational until new radars reach full capability in the 2030s. But after that, there's around a 4 to 5 year gap where we're not sure what fills in for the North Warning System. So for example, the polar radar definition phase starts somewhere around 2029, and space-based replacements would likely arrive somewhere around the 2035 timeframe, even though the existing surveillance satellites are at their end of life now. And the last thing is personnel. Even though the Canadian Armed Forces had one of its strongest recruiting years in history, with over 7,000 enrolled, a lot of the critical technical trades are still understaffed. And for complex systems such as radars and sensors, those technical trades are critical. So that's Canada's NORAD modernization attempt. Let me know what you think about this project in the comments below. Now, before we head off, a quick note about the channel. It's been about a month since this channel started, and where this channel goes next is really open. Obviously, I have some ideas of where I would like to take the channel next, the topics I would like to talk about, but I'd like to hear from you all. Is there a program, a policy, or a question about Canadian infrastructure that you'd like to talk about, and that you'd like to see broken down in the same way? And on top of that, if you have any feedback about the way the videos are being produced, if you'd like to see something done differently, please let me know in the comments below. All the feedback that's provided, I try to implement it in the videos as best as possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.